think this is class number 40. I think this is class number 40. I think there are 41 in this semester. In any case, it's the second to the last class. A couple of comments. You're all, I hope, busily crunching away on final projects. And I've gotten some questions. I got one question right just before class started, and I know that I've answered this before, but I want to remind you because it's important as you're doing your work. As a general rule, without using copyrighted material, which is not generally necessary these days of open source, write as little original code as you can possibly get away with. Never, ever write code that you can get from someplace else that works. What a waste of time, right? The idea is to get working systems, right? Because there's no prize in literature for programming. Right? It's a functional thing. So please keep that in mind. If you feel that you need to cite somebody's work, that would be great. You can put it in comments. As I said, just in answering the question earlier today, I generally keep track of where I get my stuff because if something goes wrong, I have someplace I can go back and check it, right? And if I find a site that is giving me consistently good code, I like to keep track of where that is. Just like I collect, as you all know, data, I also collect good code. It's always nice to have code that you can rely on. Last class is Wednesday. Wednesday, my topic for Wednesday is going to be, where do you go from here? How do you, given what you now know about R, how do you stay up to date? How do you use it effectively? How do you keep growing, right? A course that ends with you going like, God, I'm glad I got rid of that R thing. I never have to think about that again, right? I would say to you, and why did you take the course? Because I said it the first day, I'm not teaching you something that's complete. This is first steps on a long path, I hope. So I'll talk about that on Wednesday. Brian is going to have words about something about song lyrics, right?
I mean, he's just now decided to stop working, so we'll see what happens by Wednesday.
Brian's presentation may include code or not. We'll see. And we'll take questions. And we won't do any real big projects or anything like that. I just want to make sure that come and talk. Like most classes at BU, I've learned at BU that you could ask questions all day long and nobody will answer your questions. I don't know why that is. Come and ask questions. Today I have a particularly cool thing. Your classmate, Nanfang, a few weeks ago came and showed me a project that was all finished, and some comments about it. And I want you to see the project. It's a particularly cool project, both because of its subject matter, but also because of what he's done with R, and what he's done with some R routines that I haven't gone over in class, some that I haven't seen before, and I thought it would be interesting and fun to see it. And one final thought that saying that reminded me of: please remember, use whatever, when it comes to deciding what you're going to use in your projects, use whatever works, right? I'm not shy about loading new routines into my library. It doesn't matter to me. I've learned, I judge my classes, I don't know how you judge yours, But I judge my classes, the ones I teach, by how much I learn. My best classes are the ones where I learn the most. And in R, I've had classes that have taught me huge amounts. People who've used routines that I had never seen before and done clever things with them. And which is one of the reasons you're going to see the presentation you're going to see now. Before I turn this over to Nanfang, do you have any questions? If you have questions about your projects, over the next 2 days I'm like crazy busy, but once classes are over, I'm not so busy. And if you send me email, I will meet you and help you code or whatever needs to be done so you finish your projects. Moving here. He's excited about this, he got dressed up. Oh, be sure to ask him lots of questions, interrupt him a lot.
Yeah, so I would like to introduce a little bit about myself. As you know, I'm one of your classmates in data science in R. And this semester, so where I'm from China, and I finished my undergrad in Shanghai, and then last September I came to be a master's student in public health school. So it's far away, it's the terminal of the EU shuttle. But however, unfortunately, the course there didn't make any sense to me. So I almost, went into depressed and even see the doctor or something. Yeah. So I decided to drop off the program. So this semester I became a non-degree student, which means, the grade doesn't matter for me anyway. And also, as you may heard, Professor Haviland is very good person in grading. Whatever, what kind of things you've done, you almost get A finally. So.
That's not true.
Yeah. So here you can see I'm share my project today. Also, you can get all my codes, all my thoughts. It's not to scare you or show off something, just to share. And I very feel grateful. I feel, grateful for this great course, which I learned a lot. And also, as I continue, you can see some of this story of this project. Why I'm so grateful. This project is kind of life-changing project, for me. Also, many thanks to Brian Haviland. Have lots of discussion, and also all the classmates. Thank you for attending this. You don't have to, right? So basically, what I have done is, let me show you some cool things first. Today my title of my presentation is Interactive Data Mining Web App using RShiny, which means that here is my kind of my thoughts about future. I think now we have lots of data, big data, right? Data is multi-source, multi-stage, multi-what. So you cannot do the traditional statistical analysis. You cannot get what p-value finally, but somehow you want to mine the data. You want to get some information. So I just call it, this is kind of non-inferential data mining. So in such scenario, you need to have your customer, your user, play with the data. One typical example is cluster. I think some of you may learn machine learning, and the cluster is one of very important so-called supervised, unsupervised learning. So I suppose, okay, let me quickly go through this. This is important in this concept. So what is cluster? For example, if now we have a kindergarten and in front of us is a lot of kids, And then you take out several coins in your pocket. However, this coin is like used for many years. You cannot see the number. You don't know how much the value is. You only know the size. Let's say you have 3 coins. This is like this big, this big. They look similar, and this is like this. Although this is unrealistic. Anyway, this is 3 coins. And you give the kids, and you have to tell the kids how many different types of coins here. And the kids will look at the size and play with it, and he guess maybe there are 2 clusters of those 3 coins. Because this looks very similar, they may form a group, they may belong to the same category, and this is like a different. So they belong to another cluster. So in cluster learning, it is you're given a set of data, and you want to look for the answer. What answer? You want to know how many categories, how many clusters they best describe this type of data. But one tricky thing is when you're doing cluster, all the algorithms require you to give how many clusters you want to let it learn. For example, like the famous algorithm k-means, the first thing you need to do is k is what? K can be any integer, but you have to give a k so that the program can learn with it, right? And there are lots of algorithms to evaluate what is the best k. For example, you can try the k from 1 to 100 and see there are lots of way to evaluate. So, but here you can see you cannot make the decision for your customer, right? They should play with the data and they decide what's the best k is. There is no such an optimum k. There is always trade-off, and such trade-off is universal in data mining. A lot of trade-off. Hello. Okay, so I will talk about this story later, and here in my app. And also, if you want to know how to make the loading, the animation, I already upload all my code to my GitHub. Which means if you want to change some parameter and you want to keep your customer know it is not a deadlocker or some kind of wait forever, you can make the loading bar or something. It's very simple in my code. I will not cover here. So what I'm doing here is a real-time online clustering. What makes it different is you can tell the program how many clusters you want to make. For example, it can be 3, can be 9, can be any number. And it will real-time cluster and give feedback to the user. Also, you can have other parameters like the range of year and also other buttons they can play with. Also, they can see what's happening in each cluster, like that. Okay, and so here's the thing I would like to show you mainly about today. It's kind of my thought about future. I think in the future, when others is handing in the paper report, you just give a website and your audience can play with it. That will be great, and it have to be like this. You shouldn't make decision for your customer. There are lots of algorithms can use this kind of paradigm. So here's the thing. I think everyone here will write the code far better than mine. There are lots of ways to do the same thing. So I will not code by code, line by line, show you everything I do. It is meaningless. But such trend, if you want to follow, I think you will be the next billionaire. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. And another page is selecting best case. Yeah. So this is one of the methods to evaluate the best case. But I will not go into detail. And also here, you can see some of my function. Here I built a kind of tiny database. You can search. I know some of you want to include kind of interactive table in your Shiny app, you can just copy my code and change a little bit. It will save you a lot of time. Yeah, so as you can see, here is all the symbol, right? If you are playing with stocks, markets, symbol, and the company profile. This whole table I already have done with the data cleaning, and the data is from the official, I think it's NASDAQ, the website. They have several tables, and I just do some joins or something to make it a comprehensive one. Yeah, and some of you ask me how to do want to make the filter or something. It's not difficult once you figure out. Yeah, and here you can also play with it. Yeah, some of you may want to make a search box or something. Yeah, this is close edge. Yeah, anyway, you can put anything simple. Yeah. Okay, so you may wonder what is this project is about? Why it is like a life-changing to me? So you see this Pinsky. Yeah, so it's very hard to find a job in US right now. So this semester I can take whatever course I think is useful and I love it. So one course in Metropolitan College. Yeah, some of you may think, wow. So I take one course, this Python course, and this is my professor teaching Python. And one day he told me that he already have several companies in doing the quantitative finance and high frequency trading. But I asked him, is there any chance or any experience you have that you make $1 billion overnight? He said he make money through several years, but lost all the money overnight. So yeah, so he now decided to be a professor teaching. Good, yeah. Okay, so what he told me is, when you look at a certain stock during one day, which is called the intraday price, intraday. So it's like let's say 10 a.m. in the morning and 4 p.m. all the things over, and let's say this is a very stock everyone knows, Apple. Let's say Apple. I don't know how to spell Apple here. Yeah, and the price is like it's like a random walk. Anyway, it's a little bit exaggerated. As you can see, if you hit certain top and certain bottom at a certain time, what I'm going to do is, if I separate the whole day into 12 intervals, each 30 minutes, so its first interval is 10 to 10:30. I have 12, and I count over the history how many times it hits the top and bottom in a certain interval. I can get a histogram, right? This is what's in my second page. Yeah, and for those who want to follow up, here is the GitHub. You can download all the codes, and also I already launched my whole website into the public server, which I always want to seek for reimbursement. I already become the membership. I have no choice, or I cannot run any code. I run out all the free time in the Shiny app. Yeah, so here is the website, and also for you who use WeChat, or you don't have one, you're very welcome to add one. Even Haviland, Professor Haviland, and Brian has WeChat. Nowadays WeChat is very good, far better than Facebook. Okay, so let's continue. Just now we said if we do this operation, we can get a histogram over history of a certain stock. It has a histogram, right?
Histogram of?
Histogram of high hits or bottom hits. Like I only count the high hits. I mean top hits. The times it hits the bottom price intraday. How many times over all the history? How many days? I can get a histogram. And I can get three. Actually, here I do 3 histograms. One is the top hit. One is bottom hit. another is the top minus bottom. Yeah. But for those top minus bottom, I didn't get a strictly speaking histogram, but another graph anyway. So what I want to do is, if I do the clustering and just let the machine learning to do the clustering of all the stocks, see the histogram. For sure, there are some cluster of stocks, where the stocks inside the cluster, they show similar behavior of the histogram, right? And what I'm thinking is there any stable cluster? Which means such cluster inside, when you look at the stocks, it is different, very different from the population distribution. You can look at either like a sector, what's the industry it is doing, some is doing, as you know, there are lots of high-tech company, right? Let's say 30% high-tech in the population. If there is a certain cluster, they have inside the cluster, there are 100% high-tech, which means maybe this cluster is driven by its sector. Maybe this pattern is somehow related with the business he's doing. Or maybe some is related to its region. The most stocks in the US market is US, of course, and some is from Asia, some China, Taiwan, Japan, whatever. If you see certain cluster, all the stocks there that's from Asia. Maybe there's some story behind it, and you can use this to do an intraday strategy. What strategy? Okay, so let me show you how I do this. And this is what Pinsky told me, so I'm very excited. So kind of terrifying. The first day when you propose your proposal, I already have done with the project. Very exciting, and Pinsky saw this project, and he asked his professor, so his professor's professor. I present him this thing, and all the people amazed. So they will send me to. Right now, they send me to the Brigham and Women's Hospital to do the data science in a diagnosis of brain MRI image. So it's life-changing, as you can see. I don't have any degree, right? I drop out, right? I don't have CPT, OPT. I don't have any work status in US, but they are willing to give me the chance, maybe to do the H1B directly for me. So it's very important to try your best to do your project, which is what I want to say. Yeah. So let's continue. So the first thing I would like to do is, as you can see, you can play with the cluster. You can select what the range of the year the stock is available, and you give how many cluster you want to make. Let's say 15, and you will do the cluster. Right? Yeah. And you can see this is just a visualization purpose diagram. As you can see, if I divide one day into 12 intervals, there are 12 variable, right, or 12 features. Yeah, you cannot see anything like in the 12th dimension, but you can use some trick to do the dimension reduction. There are lots of techniques. Yeah.
So what are the points on the chart to the left?
Yeah, this is visualization purpose only. Actually, they are generated by random, but this algorithm works very well for just virtual visualization.
Is this actual data being plotted?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so what's the data?
Do you mean the meaning of?
Yeah, take a point, any point.
Yep.
And just say what is that? Where's the data from, and what is it showing me on that chart?
Oh, yeah. However, I cannot realize this function, but you can, if you want to. Let's say this is red. Red is cluster number 15, and you can see what's inside number 15. You can select 15, and then here will tell you the center of this cluster, and then the member of this cluster. So it's a symbol called RGR. And what is RGR? Just look at the table, and then you can look up what is RGR, the company. Anyway, so here, this diagram, just for people to have a rough idea, the result of clustering. Is there look kind of pattern, or there is not? So, but what is even amazing is here. So you can, let's say you are looking the first diagram, first cluster. Oh, sorry. We already set up 15 cluster, and you want to select for the the top hits, and you want to look at the first cluster. And this shows you the population situation of the region it belongs to. Mostly is North America. And this is in the cluster 1. Yeah, as you can see, all from North America. Maybe not much information, depends on you. And you can look at the sector, the business they're doing. This is the population situation, and this is what happened in your cluster. As you can see, yeah, there's something meaningful, maybe. Yeah, as you can see, there are lots of. Yeah, I can't tell the color here. I don't know whether I'm green, yellow, green blind. I don't know. Yeah, but this maybe is energy, or maybe consumer. But oh, sorry, I think there are 2 colors, right? This is one color. This is another. Anyway, so you want to see whether they show a conspicuous pattern. Yeah, and if you think this cluster is very stable, you can look at the member. Once you get the center of this cluster and you want to select one stock, you can make up a trading strategy. What is trading strategy? Is, let's say you are interested in AA and the cluster is EA. So you go back to the first page. This is EA, and this you put AA. Yep, it will generate the real-time predicted probability of the top hits in the following few hours. Right now is a few minutes to 3 o'clock, I think. So we still have 1 hour to do the trading. Yeah, and if it is darker, means that higher probability of the highest hits in today. Please?
I have a question. Is this price or is it referring to stock?
Price.
Price.
Yes.
So that means that you won't be able to when comparing the unit. Don't they have all have a different unit? So comparing won't be possible because they're not standardized in the same unit.
Yeah. This is also a kind of extended program today. What's happened? How I predict this probability? I cannot make it to write into the document.
I'm meaning comparison between stock A and stock B.
Yeah.
Like if I'm comparing stock Apple and comparing to stock something that's like minuscule, that means the rate, it won't be a fair comparison because you're not on the same unit.
Yes. Yeah, I understand you. So just now I said I can get a histogram, right? Yeah. Histogram, in another sense, is a probability mass function, right? Yeah. And I can use this so-called Bhattacharya distance to calculate the similarity, the dissimilarity of 2 different histograms.
Of 2 histograms.
Yeah. Use this.
Okay.
Yeah, I will not go into detail. And what I want to continue is how I calculate the probability.
Hang on, let's keep going for just a second about this. So I've got 2 histograms, and the 2 histograms are about price. In this case, I've got the same.
Yeah.
It looks like I have the same security on both on the top and the bottom, right?
Yes.
And now I'm getting a histogram of.
This is not histogram. This is the real-time price of.
This is the real-time price. Okay.
Yes.
So now I'm looking at real-time price at. Are these the intervals at the bottom?
Yes. This is every 30 intervals from 10 p.m. This is the first one. This is second one, third one.
Okay, so in a 6-hour day, I have 12.
Yes.
All right.
If it is darker, it means that my predicted probability, higher probability of that interval have a highest heat, which means I can do options.
Well, let's not go too fast.
Yeah.
Let's so these are prices during those 30-minute intervals. Are they average prices, top prices, low prices?
Top price. If it is the top price, let's say highest heat. So every interval will have a highest heat.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
and all the data is minutes, accurate as minute.
Okay.
Yeah, I got all the data from Google Finance. Yeah, this is inside the code, and it is it is real time data, so it's not historical or something.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's kind of confusing to explain the strategy, but I don't think everyone is interested in the strategy or anything. But just let's say what functions you may borrow, right? In your application, maybe you want to copy and then paste and then use it. This is what I'm happy to see. And here is like some kind of documentation. I think in the future, when you're presenting your website, you no longer store your documentation in another place. You can just put all the things in the website. So how to make this? Even you can enter the formula. Yeah, it's inside my code. There is some kind of function can make you use HTML or something to print out to make a very good pattern. The format of text or formula. Yeah, and also one thing I want to highlight. Actually, few of you may notice is as you may wonder, if I'm doing clustering, it is very computational intensive. Actually, if I put the cluster, here it is. As you know, the Shiny app has two parts, right? One is server .r, one is UI .r. So this one is basically doing the user interface, the bottom, everything about appearance. Maybe is go with UI.r. Server is where you do your computation, where you write your algorithm. And actually, I try. If I write the cluster algorithm and just use the server to run the clustering, each time you have an input, it takes about 10 to 20 minutes to run. Sure, this unacceptable, right? So what I'm doing is I look at all the possibility of the user input. For example, the user maybe input cluster equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 100. And at the range, I can do a combinatory. Maybe the time is from 1991 to 2016. So which means there are how many combinations? There are yeah, which means I make a right. I choose 2 from 26. There are 26 years, and I can choose 2 of them. This is all the possibility of inputs, and then I use another computer to run all the possible dissimilarity matrix. Why I make that? Because what costs most of time during a clustering algorithm? It is to calculate the dissimilarity matrix, which is a matrix. Here is for example, this is the first stop, second stop. There are 200 stops, let's say, and this is first. It's a square matrix, and each entry is the dissimilarity. It is a number of 2 histograms. And I just make all the possible inputs and make, as I remember, I make roughly 1,000 different matrices, and I store them in the Amazon cloud. Amazon cloud. When the user gives inputs in my Shiny app, I will have generate different address to obtain the corresponding matrix, and then you know, the rest of thing is just to plot or something. It's very easy. You can do it like real time. But for the calculation of the matrix, you can just make it in advance. This is some kind of strategy to enhance the user experience. And how to make it? You can see my code. There are lots of techniques.
So take them through.
Yep.
Take them through in your code.
Yep.
Where you're accessing your data and what that code actually looks like.
Okay. So, is this the climax of today? I don't know. Let's see. Yep, this is the introduction in few words. I store yeah, so here is my code. Yeah, so this code, I use this to calculate all the all the possible matrices, this similarity matrix, and it will generate roughly 1,000 matrices. Yeah, this file is the purpose is doing this, and the tidy hits is another program. I can use it to do the data cleaning. How I get the raw data of all the stocks, and then I clean them into the histogram I want to make. And then this is what I do the data cleaning for the company profile, how I make the tiny database. Okay, so lastly is this about our, yeah. Let me see whether I can open to. Yeah, this is the.
So that you have a line there where you're reading from the Amazon cloud.
Oh
right?
yes, yes.
Okay. So can you show them? Can you take them to the cloud and show them where that is?
Sure.
That would be interesting.
And why I use Amazon Cloud, because it's free, which is important, I think.
It's a good reason.
Be careful. It's free for. There's a period of time, right?
Yeah,
I think it's a year.
yeah.
Right.
It's enough to survive this class.
Fair enough. Okay, but just so everybody knows, if you sign up for the Amazon cloud and when the year is over, you start getting bills.
So what after that, Professor Haviland? Is there any like a free storage forever?
No, not that I've found.
Okay.
But you can bounce around from one cloud company to the next, right? We have Azure and Amazon and Alibaba and and on and on and on, right?
All the ones give 1 year free trial.
All the 1 year free trials, right? The beginning of your career could be a collection of free trials.
I definitely agree. Okay.
So, but showing them where that is. So you're actually in your workspace.
Yes.
On Amazon Cloud now.
Yes.
Okay.
For example, you can upload one file or a total folder. One important thing is when you upload it, it is very important for you to make it public, so that you can use this address and the your program can get access to this file from this address. And what makes it even better is the address format is very regular, which means you can program with this address. It's just like stored in your computer. There are a few like a special character. If your input is space, it will turn it to a plus, and there are some kind of, but it's not important. You just generate it and you see what happens.
And what's up there are CSV files from what I can
Yes.
see, right?
Yes.
And how big are those files? Is there a reason, is this for demonstration purposes, or are they so large that you're?
Yeah, so I think Professor Haviland said that there is a limitation of the Shiny server upload, right? So the reason I use this all the time is because at the beginning I don't know how to upload file to the Shiny server, so I use this, and I use it all the time. But this time it makes difference because, as you can see here, is how many matrices? There are like 1,000 matrices, and each one has a different but very regular file name, so that when the user have inputs, I change the file name and then obtain the corresponding matrix and then do the next thing. Yeah, and this is all the file I store. It's very simple. You just sign up your account and then you open a virtual machine and then.
Where does the data come from that goes into the CSV files?
Oh.
And how does it get there?
Yeah, I think I mean the very raw data in my the total project is, since I already showed the data cleaning file, which means you guys can also reproduce. I also upload my raw data, which means that, as you can see, let's say this is a tidy hit, let's say. And the final output, I will write a CSV file, and you get a CSV file, and I'll upload to the Amazon cloud, and that's the whole thing.
And what is this doing? What is this?
Oh, this is doing data cleaning. This is counting the.
So let's come back to where does the data come from?
Oh, come from. Oh, this is also a tricky thing. As you know, all the data is not for free, especially the historical trading data. I got it from Professor Pinsky. Yeah, he has someone in the Questrom Business School.
Bloomberg.
They have the free data. Yeah.
I use Bloomberg. You just use Bloomberg to collect real-time data.
Yeah.
Or if you do minute data, you have to basically sit there and open the Excel and collect it.
Yeah. And
So you have to collect it essentially manually.
Well, you can write for minute data you have to constantly run the computer and run the Excel, because Bloomberg saves daily end data, but minute data you have to be constantly collecting at the same time. But if you're just looking at daily data, you can just go there anytime.
Okay. And this is if you're in the business school, this is available.
This is whoever has a Bloomberg terminal, but in BU, there's any question that has Bloomberg terminals, ratings go up.
Okay.
They technically don't let you download data.
And you can't download data.
You just go.
Oh, you can't.
Even if you are a classroom student, if you're not a PhD student,
Oh,
you're not allowed to download a lot of data, which
Right.
is
Right.
minute data. You can.
That's because
download data.
doctoral students are too poor to trade.
Because there's a limit on amount of data you can collect.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
a
There's a
limit.
quota of
Yeah,
that BU
BU pays a limit.
Okay, all right, thank you. It was really important, it's important for
Sure.
people to know where this stuff comes from, because the challenge is always, there's a reason why I collect data, and it's because it's data, real-time data is expensive,
Yes.
particularly real-time financial data.
Yes.
And it's important for people to sort of realize that as they look at this, not that we're encouraging day trading.
Yes.
We are not encouraging day trading.
Yeah, I also want to add a comment. I think,
Yes.
now the time changes. The gold in this area is data. Someone owns a lot of scarce data may be very powerful.
Okay.
And also, yeah, this can be your business if you want to do some data smuggle from question.
We're not encouraging that either. Okay,
Yep, and
we're about out of time.
yeah,
Last thoughts.
yes,
What's the coolest thing you've got in your code?
coolest thing.
What's the coolest thing you've got in your code?
I-
We've seen, we have charts of, we have
Yeah.
price charts, price versus time charts.
Yeah.
We've got some histogram charts that show tops and bottom hits in half-hour periods. What else do we have?
Yeah. So what I'm like to show here is
And we have some clustering.
yes. Maybe I can just show you how I do the loading, image. As you know, this website is very interesting. You can take a look. It is called Preloader, and there are lots of different loading animation you can download. And some of them is not GIF. It is so-called SVG, I think. This format will allow you to do the very high resolution animation. Yeah, and you just borrow those animation and put it. You do a conditional panel, which is very smart, I think. When it detects the system is busy, you will load the image and then just let your user know now the system is busy. You can just wait a little bit.
So it loads, show us what it actually does in your system, because that's interesting.
Oh, sure.
What's the animation?
Yeah. Let's say I change to GG. You see?
Oh, that's the animation
Yeah.
it does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Okay.
and I know some of your program may run,
And it does that, and it downloads the animation essentially when the system is doing
busy.
something else.
Yes.
It downloads the animation.
Yes.
So it creates the illusion that it didn't take any time.
Yes.
That's the key point. It creates the illusion that it doesn't take any time. If you've learned nothing else about software in this class, it creates the illusion because it uses cycles that you don't notice, right? There's a lot of software that works that way, and that's a cool thing to, and this is cool that it does that. Okay.
Yeah, and that there are
The result is not as thrilling as we had hoped, but
yes.
but it,
Yeah, I think you can even make a Shiny app with all kinds of different loading. It would be very
So
cool.
take us to the site, take us to that site is sort of the last thing,
Sure.
we really are out of time,
Sure.
but just take it to the site. So this is very cool.
Yeah, 2 minutes left, I think. Here we go. Yeah, as you can see, all the loading, you can make the website. Yeah, all the loading.
Are they free?
Yeah. There is a trick though. Some of them is free, some of them is not, but you can, for example, you open it in the Chrome, you can see the code, right? I think there is a button. Let me show you. Let me open. I think this is also important. Some of you never pay, Okay. Where's my mouse?
Stole it.
Yeah. For example, you can view developer, view source, right? And in some page, it's obvious. You know where the image is hiding, and you just copy the link. You don't even have to upload to your cloud.
Cool, okay. Great. Thank you very much. This is really interesting. This is a cool source of code, as I said at the beginning of class. Finding sources of code that do things that you need to do so that you don't have to solve those problems yourself originally is tremendous. And having little widgets on your on in your applications that do things like that, while that may seem a trivial thing, it creates a feeling about your application that's helpful if you're trying to convince people that your application is cool. This is tremendous. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my honor. Yeah, and if anyone wants to I have very cool projects. It's going on, top secret.
Right. Right. I'm not sure I'd trade on this, but interesting to find out.
Thank you.
Have you gotten, so my comment as well.